Chronological Bible in a Year, day 244. As we continue our walk through the book of Ezekiel, I'm reminded of a quote I'd heard in high school. God doesn't have grandchildren, only children. The idea being that if your parents were Christians or your grandparents were Christians, that doesn't mean you will be. Rather, there's an element of personal responsibility. And we can see this coming starting in verse 5, where it talks about a righteous man. And then it ends with verse 9 here. He follows my statutes and keeps my ordinances, acting faithfully. Such a person is righteous, and he will certainly live. But then it goes on in verse 10 to say, but suppose the man has a violent son who sheds blood and does these things. And it mentions various sins that this man's son could do. Verse 13, he will not live, since he has committed all these detestable acts. He will certainly die. His death will be his own fault. So generation 1, righteous, he lives. Generation 2, unrighteous, he dies. But now we can jump to generation 3. Now suppose he has a son who sees all the sins his father's committed, and though he sees them, he does not act likewise. It then ends, such a person will not die for his father's iniquity. He will certainly live. If a generation is righteous, then that person will live. If they are unrighteous, they will die. The sins of the father are not imputed on the son, but in the same way, the righteousness of the father is not imputed on the son. And the chapter ends starting in verse 30. Therefore, house of Israel, I will judge each one of you according to his ways. This is the declaration of the Lord. Repent and turn from your rebellious acts, so they will not become a sinful stumbling block to you. Throw off all the transgressions you have committed and get yourselves a new heart and a new spirit. Why should you die, house of Israel? I take no pleasure in anyone's death. This is the declaration of the Lord, so repent and live. God isn't rubbing his hands together as he sees people sin going, oh, I can't wait to punish that one. No, God is saying, I don't want to punish you. Repent so you can live. But like many of the Israelites, we say the Lord's way isn't fair. That was their response in verse 25. And to a degree, they're right. It's not fair that we should have the chance to repent. It's not fair that God gives us a second, third, fifth, 20th, 1,000,000th chance in life. So let's be grateful that he's not fair. God, I repent of my sins. Give me a new heart and a new spirit so that I might live. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next in this journey. But until then, God bless.